Hello and welcome, I'm DDF Racer, and today I'm going to be trying out my brand new Fanatec ClubSport BMW M3 GT2 version 2 wheel for the very first time. Why this wheel in particular? Well, I like to drive all kinds of different cars and each one requires a different driving style. For single-seaters, prototypes, that kind of thing, I use this, my F1 wheel. It's great for when you need to be precise because it forces you to keep your hands fixed firmly in position, and it also has plenty of buttons and paddles for things like a 2-stage hand clutch, energy recovery management, and DRS, that kind of thing. But for cars with less technology, higher degrees of rotation, and, shall we say, a bit more liveliness in the wheel, it makes it so much easier when you've got a round steering wheel just like this, where you can move your hands to any position for the tighter corners and the higher degrees of rotation, and you can also take your hands off and put them back on again for quick corrections. This is essential for drifting or rally driving because, trust me, that's not fun on a Formula 1 rim. Oh, that really hurt my wrist. Ow! Now, those of you who are familiar with the channel already will know that I already have a round steering wheel, a generic road car wheel fitted with a Fanatec adapter, endurance button kit, and advanced paddles. Thank you again, Lani, for donating that to the channel, you absolute legend. Hope you're keeping alright, mate. The adapter sadly stopped working though, which meant the wheel wasn't being detected by my CSL DD wheelbase, and Fanatec wanted 300 Aussie dollars for a replacement. And how much for this brand new wheel instead? Only $400. Seemed like a no-brainer to me. Especially when you consider what you actually get with the wheel, that's not a bad price anyway. With a 320mm diameter, a slight D shape on the bottom, and a lightweight but sturdy build, this is designed not only to be used hard, but to be as close to the real thing as possible. The metal frame eliminates any kind of flexing, although the Alcantara finish means you'll probably want to wear gloves if you want to keep it in good condition. There's also an LED display and rev lights to tell you exactly what's going on in the car, 13 mappable buttons including a 7-way funky switch for much easier menu controls, and magnetic paddle gear shifters as standard. Now, just before we get any further into the video, I want to make something quite clear. I purchased this wheel with my own money for my own personal use. This is not a Fanatec sponsored video. They didn't pay for this. They didn't set this up. This video is 100% my thoughts and my honest opinions. That said, if you do like the look of this wheel and you're considering getting one, or any Fanatec gear for that matter, and you want to help out the channel at absolutely no effort or extra cost to yourself, there is a Fanatec affiliate link down in the video description, so go check that out. Right, first things first, let's get the quick release adapter fitted. When you buy this wheel, the adapter is included separately at no extra cost, but it is up to you to install it. However, all of the required tools and instructions come in the box, along with the usual Fanatec stickers, so it's a fairly straightforward process and shouldn't take too long, provided you put it on the right way round, of course. Once you've done that, it's just a case of sticking it on your wheelbase, and then making sure the firmware is up to date. To configure the wheel to your liking, you can either do it through the software directly, or you can do it on the wheel itself. By pressing this configuration button, you can bring up the menu displayed on the LCD screen, and then use the funky switch on the right hand side of the wheel to cycle through all of the options and twist the funky switch to make changes. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on what every single slider does and what every single setting does, because we might be here for a while. There are plenty of Fanatec threads on their forums which go through all of this and explain it a lot better than I probably could. They have specific threads for the recommended settings of pretty much every sim and wheelbase combination out there, so go and check these out. A quick search, Google search will bring them up for you. And to be honest, these are all the settings that I use. If you guys want to ask me, what settings do I use on my wheel, I'm probably just going to point you to these pages anyway, because the default settings, they do me just fine and they feel great. Anyway, let's get this thing out on track. And since this is a BMW M3 GT2 wheel, I thought it was only appropriate to do my first ever laps using it in a BMW M3 GT2. So here we are at the Nordschleife in RaceRoom. And the first thing that stands out to me is how light this thing feels. Like, honestly, compared to my old one, this is just... you can just throw it into the corners. And the feedback is actually still just as strong, but it doesn't have that inertia behind it, I'm not sure whether that's the reduced weight or the reduced diameter, but Wow. Oh, it feels really good. You can really feel it loading up in the corners, and as I completely missed that apex. I'm just trying to take this in. I'm not trying to take this in right now. It's not about lap times, it's not about apexes, and to be honest, I was never really always 100% on those anyway to begin with, but this feels amazing. Wow. And the grip is really nice with the material on the wheel. It's really grippy, but at the same time it doesn't kind of stick to your hands. It doesn't feel like you're glued to the wheel. On some leather wheels it definitely feels like your hands are sticky. We'll try this on later in the video when I fire up DiRT Rally 2.0, but it feels like it would just kind of slip between your fingers for those quicker movements. Okay, now here's the proper test onto the actual Nordschleife itself. I must admit, having this car and this wheel, like, normally I do my sim racing in VR, so it's all for the immersion, but even without the VR right now, seeing the wheel in-game and seeing the wheel in front of me on the rig, with the rotations matched, with the buttons in the same position, with the same size, it's really cool. I mean, I realise that this is obviously a very small case scenario of people who are actually going to use this wheel and drive this car, but this is what it's all about. Just immersion, really, isn't it? Feels really sturdy as well. There's like absolutely no flex in it. On the shaft as well, the quick release feels really secure, which isn't always the case with Fanatec wheels, I have to say. Some of them can be a bit shaky, so they do come with a securing pin, which you can actually screw onto the shaft as well, just to give it that little bit of extra rigidity. Don't need it in this case though, feels great. I can see me taking a long time to record this video and actually only using a few minutes of footage in the edit, because I'm just going to be driving and driving for a while on this, I think. It just brings so much enjoyment having a good piece of gear like this. Not that there's anything wrong with a Logitech wheel or anything, because I used a G25, then a G27, then a G29 for the best part of 15 years before I upgraded to Fanatec gear a few years ago. There's just something about this, it just feels really good. It feels way better than $400, if I'm being honest with you. Something else I do want to mention as well is the funky switch on the right hand side of the wheel, just around about here. It's in a really nice position. It's just within thumb's reach. And it's the same for the paddles as well, actually. I know that with a larger diameter wheel, the old one I used to have, it was using the Porsche Endurance button pack, which is great because you've got all the rotaries, you've got the up and down switches, you've got a lot more functionality in terms of buttons on something like that. But with the larger diameter wheel, I think that was 350 or 360 millimeters, whereas this is only 320. The paddles are a lot closer to your fingers. The button, the funky switch, is a lot closer to your fingers as well, which, you know, like if you have to take your eyes off the road and, like I just did then, and play around with the pit menu and mess around with your pit strategies and try and put fuel in and change your tyres and select drive-through, that kind of thing. You don't want to be overstretching on the buttons. You want everything to just be within fingertip reach. My hands aren't tiny, but they're definitely not like giant hands. I know Nick De Silva probably give me a run for his money there. He's got huge hands. He could press all the buttons at once if he wanted to. But for me personally, not having to stretch and kind of take my hands off the wheel and do all of this kind of business in the middle of a race, I can see that being quite a big advantage. So another shout out for the smaller diameter on this wheel. Very nice. And the paddles as well, magnetic by default, feel great. They've got a really nice clunk to them, you know? When you press them, you know you've pressed them. It's a very satisfying tactile feeling. I know some other wheels, they don't have that, or they kind of have a rocker mechanism, like the McLaren GT wheel, for example. You can pull the pedal back and you can push it forwards as well to kind of do the opposite of an upshift or a downshift. But it kind of feels a bit loose using that wheel. And the WRC wheel, I mean, that's got the paddles as well, but they don't have magnets quite like this. I recently had the opportunity to try both of those wheels, thanks to channel member and long-term subscriber Jimmy the Bear. Let me borrow those wheels for a bit just to have a go and see what I thought. And yeah, the two things that stood out to me on those was the paddles and the build. I don't want to say plasticky, but they definitely don't feel as sturdy as this. And yeah, the paddles as well, they don't have the same kind of you know, to them when you pull a gear. I realise this has been an absolutely terrible lap, but I don't care. I'm having too much fun with this wheel. It's absolutely superb. I will say, the LCD display, I am used to having the smart display, where you have like actual sentences and, you know, you've got a little bit more detail when you're going through the settings in the tuning menu. Whereas this, you've only got 3 characters in your traditional LCD style. I would say using the software is a lot better if you're still new to the gear. If you're familiar with what all the Fanatec abbreviations are, then you can do it on the wheel. That's only a minor thing. I'm literally nitpicking right now. I'm just trying to think of something negative to say about it, but I'm very, very pleasantly surprised. Wow. And of course, shout out to RaceRoom. What a great car. Severely underrated and underused car in RaceRoom, the old GTR2 class. Give this car a spin. You'll enjoy it. And turn the volume up as well. Do yourself a favour. Oh, perfect. That's a great example of one of the advantages of having a round wheel, as I was choking at the same time. Apologies for that. Still getting over a little bit of a cold, as I'm sure you may have been able to tell in my voiceover stuff so far as well, so apologies for that. But yeah, the ability to correct quickly, so much easier than on a Formula 1 style rim, because obviously on the Formula 1 style wheel, as you can see, it's got a flat top and it's got no bottom. You can only hold the sides, whereas here you can hold it anywhere. But yeah, now that I've spent a little bit more time in the car and gotten used to it a little bit more and had to think about what it'd be like in a racing situation as opposed to just hot lapping by myself, I was originally concerned there wouldn't be enough buttons for all of the, you know, the Discord, push to talk, and all the applications of pit stops and brake bias and traction control and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, there is more than enough. And they're all in, a, like I said before, a really great location, ergonomically as well. If you're on a budget and you don't really want to be spending Porsche endurance wheel levels of money, or oh, I'm going to run out of fuel, or that kind of thing, then this will do you just fine. Now, this is all well and good, but I have actually driven this car before using my Formula 1 wheel rim, and did it just fine. In fact, the majority of my GT driving has been done with that wheel, although, to be honest, I can see myself using it a lot less frequently compared to this thing from now on. The main reason I bought the Fanatec BMW M3 GT2 V2 wheel was for its round shape, for cars which need a bit of opposite lock to get around the place, mainly rally. So, let's give that a try. Here we are then, at the start of the Peresma Platini stage at the Greek Rally in DiRT Rally 2.0. And for authenticity's sake, I'm sticking with the BMW, specifically the BMW M1 Procar. A Group B rear-wheel drive monster and perhaps one of the most difficult cars available. This should be a proper test.
3,
Let's prepare to bin it.
1, go.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Opens, keep left over 60, 5 left.
Oh, actually, I've just remembered something. For some reason, in DiRT Rally 2.0, which I am yet to figure out, and if any of you do know, please do let me know in the comments, the steering degrees don't match up with what happens in the game, and you have to set that manually to 540, which is half of 1080, which is what this wheel is by standard. So another advocate for using the tuning menu, so that little button I talked about before, the top left of the wheel, press that, go across once the sensitivity, and then you can use the funky control to shift it down to 540. So you guys can't see this, you got to take my word for it. It does say 540, job done. So now the steering should match, so let's give that another correct, shall we?
3.
Ah, much better, yep, that's right now.
Go.
That matches.
Opens, keep left over 60, 5 left.
Yep, there we go, much more responsive. Oh, there's a rock. No, that's not going to work. Come on, keep going. See, I wouldn't be able to do that on a Formula 1 style wheel. With it flying all over the place and just trying to re-grab it again. Oh, no, no. Rocks everywhere, narrow stages everywhere, and that's the killer rock. Yep, that's it. Oh, okay. Let's maybe try that again. As I was trying to say, before I was rudely interrupted by my inability to listen to pace notes, drive, and talk at the same time.
into 4 left over crest.
Having a round wheel is absolutely essential for this kind of driving
6 left over
because it
crest.
allows you to just make those quick corrections
6 left
and not have to worry
crest.
about where your hands are on the steering wheel that you just couldn't do using a Formula 1 style rim. Use the power to
Cut 2 left.
maintain the slide.
30.
Oh, it's so satisfying.
Opens
And that's it.
long.
Give it the rotation again. And one of the big advantages of a direct drive steering wheel
Opens of a crest.
is the fact that you can take your hands off and it will self-align in the center. You don't really get that on lower powered wheels. The car naturally wants to go in a straight line. It wants to correct itself. Oh wait, no, wait, whoa.
Extra
Oh, straight into the marshals. Let's maybe try that again. I do think that the reduced diameter and the smaller width...
30. 6 left over crest. 100.
A few moments later.
In hindsight, trying to talk in detail with any kind of sense, listen to pace notes, and also drive this thing at the same time was probably a bad idea, so instead, here's some footage with a voiceover. So, what were my thoughts on using the Fanatec BMW M3 GT2 V2 wheel in DiRT Rally 2.0? Well, the ability to let go of the wheel and re-grip it again that comes with a round steering wheel is absolutely invaluable. As you can see, I'm making a lot of small corrections and some big corrections as well, and especially when you're in VR, you can't actually physically see the wheel where it's at in front of you, so you need to have the confidence that you can let go of the wheel, re-grab it, and there'll actually be something to grab hold of. A regular shaped steering wheel like this allows you to do that, whereas with the Formula 1, you've got 2 handles on either side, so you've got a 50-50 chance of actually holding onto some wheel if you let go and re-grab it again. Now, I do say that this is a round wheel. There is a slight D shape to it. On the bottom, it is slightly flattened, so it's not perfectly round, like the WRC wheel by Fanatec, for example. Did this make any difference? Did it hinder me? Did it have any kind of effect? It made absolutely no difference whatsoever. If anything, having that slight D shape gave me a subtle indicator that I was actually holding the wheel upside down if I could feel that at the top, and it gave me more of an idea on where my rotation was at without having visibility on the wheel as well. And that could be absolutely essential if you are using paddle shifters, because you want to make sure you're going to shift up or down correctly, because if your wheel's upside down and you grab the one on the left, that's going to upshift it, and maybe you want to lower the gear to get some drive, and all of a sudden you're bogging down. So I'd say that is probably quite an advantage to have the slight D shape, because it just gives you that extra little bit of orientation, which isn't something that you get on Fanatec's own WRC wheel that's completely round, and that is their officially licensed rally wheel. Speaking of the WRC wheel, which I did have a chance to try out last month, thanks again Jimmy the Bear for that. How does it compare? Well, the BMW wheel, it's very similar in terms of size. However, in terms of build, it's absolutely rock solid. And the frame as well, it doesn't feel plasticky. It feels like this could be twisted and flexed, which is exactly what it needs to do, because rally driving is brutal sometimes. And compared to my old wheel with a large diameter that was 350 or 360mm, the force feedback comes through much more nicely on this smaller BMW wheel, not because it's stronger, but because of the weight of the wheel as well as the diameter. It's transferred so much more smoothly. It's obviously, there's a lot of force going on there, relatively speaking, because this is only the CSL DD. It only goes up to 8 Newton meters. Strong but nice is the way I would describe this. And obviously I know that's got a lot to do with the wheelbase settings, but the wheelbase is just the motor and the shaft. That's all the CSL DD is. That force has to get transferred through a wheel into your hands, so obviously the wheel is going to have a big impact on your perception of the force feedback, much in the same way that the tyres are the only contact point between the car and the road, and that's how the grip gets transferred, if that makes sense. That's not really a great analogy, that is it? You know what I mean. In all honesty, if you were looking at getting a Fanatec wheel and you could only pick one to use for everything, I'd probably say this was the one. The round shape is great for rally and drifting. It allows you to take your hands off the wheel for older cars with high degrees of rotation. It doesn't feel out of place when driving a GT car because, well, it's a replica of an actual GT car steering wheel, but it's also small enough and light enough to be more than suitable for single-seater cars as well. Sure, you might not have all of the hand clutches or a myriad of buttons compared to the other Fanatec wheels out there, especially the toggle and rotary switches, but you can definitely make do without them. Fanatec's cheapest offering, which has all of these buttons and features as standard, is the Porsche Endurance wheel. But this BMW M3 GT2 V2 wheel is less than half the price. Is it less than half as good? Definitely not. Like I said at the start of the video though, these are just my thoughts, so it's probably best if you do some of your own research as well, instead of just blindly trusting what some random guy in his 30s on the internet sat in a pretend race car is saying. That said, if you are considering getting this wheel, or any Fanatec gear for that matter, then there is an affiliate link down in the video description which can help out the channel at no extra cost or effort to yourself. And of course, if you found this video useful, don't forget to leave it a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to actually see me go and put this into action on my upcoming videos and live streams. Until then though, you look after yourselves, and thanks for watching.